Accessible personal archiving for libraries. Introduction. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Kimberly Ann. I am currently completing my Master of Library and Information Science at Valdosta State University, and I work in public library services with a focus on homebound and senior services outreach. Throughout my graduate studies and work with patrons, I have become especially interested in accessibility, preservation, personal information management, and the ways libraries can help people protect the memories that matter most. Imagine opening a box of family photographs 50 years from now. You recognize some of the faces, or at least you are fairly certain one of them is your grandmother, but there are no names, dates, locations, or stories attached. Nobody remembers what was happening or why everyone was standing beside a suspiciously large zucchini. The photograph survived. The context did not. Now imagine the modern version. You upload years of baby pictures, vacations, birthdays, and everyday moments to social media. Then one day, your account is hacked, locked, suspended, or deleted. In an instant, the photographs are no longer available to you. That is not hypothetical, it happened to me. Before I understood digital preservation or backup strategies, I relied heavily on social media to store my photographs. When I lost access to my account, I lost nearly a decade of memories that I cannot recover. Nothing teaches digital preservation quite like discovering that a social media company does not consider itself the official archivist of your life. Recent Facebook and Instagram outages have offered another reminder. Being able to view something online today does not mean we control it, have preserved it, or will be able to retrieve it tomorrow. A social media account is not a personal archive. A cloud account is not automatically a backup. One question has guided my work throughout my career. Why do we organize information? Why does accessibility matter? Why should libraries teach personal archiving? During my MLIS fieldwork, my mentor encouraged me to always find my why, because understanding the purpose behind our work shapes how we do it. Today, I will show how accessible personal archiving practices can help libraries preserve not only photographs, but also the identities, relationships, and stories connected to them. Why accessibility matters. Libraries increasingly help patrons with genealogy, family photographs, digitization projects, oral histories, and digital preservation. Many people assume scanning an old photograph is enough. Place photograph on scanner, press button, preservation accomplished. Unfortunately, scanning is only the beginning. If nobody knows who appears in the photograph, where it was taken, or why it mattered, we have preserved the image but lost its story. That is why accessibility and preservation belong together. Accessibility supports people with disabilities, including those who use screen readers or other assistive technology. But it also makes information easier for older adults, relatives, genealogists, historians, researchers, and future generations to understand and find. Consider a photograph labeled IMG 4728, JPG. That file name tells us the image exists and that a machine was involved. Beyond that, it is not especially generous with information. Now compare it with 1943 Chicago, Illinois, Soldier and Family Union Station.jpg. Before opening the photograph, we already know approximately when and where it was taken, who appears in it, and what was happening. That small amount of information transforms an anonymous file into part of a family's history. Accessibility does not simply improve access today, it preserves context and discoverability for tomorrow. 5 accessible personal archiving practices. The good news is that librarians do not need specialized archival training to begin helping patrons. Small habits can make an enormous difference. Practice 1. Organize files clearly. Encourage patrons to replace automatic file names that are number sequences. Replace these with descriptive names such as 1947 to 1948, Charlotte and Robert Moeller Wedding Day, Germany.jpg. Folder organization is also important. Collections can be organized by family branch, date, location, or event. The goal is not to create a complicated professional archive. It is to leave enough structure that the collection still makes sense to someone besides the person who created it. Practice 2, add basic metadata. Metadata sounds intimidating, but it simply means information about an item. For a family photograph, that may include who is pictured, when and where was it taken, what was happening, who created or digitized it. Without that context, even a perfectly preserved photograph can eventually become a very clear image of absolutely nobody anyone recognizes. Where does metadata go? Metadata can live in several places. First, begin with the file name. Second, whenever possible, add information directly to the digital photograph. Many computers and photo management programs allow users to edit titles, descriptions, dates, locations, keywords, and names. On my Windows computer, I can right-click a photograph, open its properties, and add information through the available details fields. I also add tags to my photographs. Tags work much like social media hashtags. A hashtag such as hashtag Chicago, hashtag wedding, or hashtag family history groups related content and makes it easier to find. Tags on a personal photograph serve the same basic purpose, but they remain with the family's personal digital collection instead of depending on a social media platform. For example, one photograph might include the tags Germany, wedding, 1940s, family history. Later, I can search for Germany, wedding, or a person's name and locate related photographs, even if they are stored in different folders. They are essentially hashtags for your archive, without strangers commenting or an algorithm deciding who sees them. Another idea, patrons can maintain a simple spreadsheet or collection inventory containing the file name, date, people, location, tags, and a short description. These create layers of context. The file name identifies the photograph. Embedded metadata describes it. Tags make it searchable. The inventory organizes the larger collection. We do not want the only surviving record identifying grandpa to be a Facebook tag. Social media is excellent for sharing memories. It was never designed to preserve them forever. My family archive. Here is how I applied these ideas to my own family photos. I created one master folder titled Personal Family Digital Archive, 1925 to 2025. Inside, I separated photographs from digitized documents and records. I then organized the photographs into broad date ranges. This prevents the archive from becoming one enormous digital junk drawer. Within the earlier collection, I created folders by decade and location, including Germany, Poland, France, and the United States. This gives people more than one way to find something. They may remember the decade, the country, the person, or the event. My file names generally follow this pattern: year, location, people, event. There is no single perfect naming convention. What matters is choosing a system that is logical, meaningful, and consistent. If a photograph is copied, shared, or separated from its original folder, a descriptive file name allows some of its context to travel with it. Practice 3, write meaningful image descriptions. Now we arrive at one of my favorite accessibility practices. Compare these two descriptions: family photo and 3 generations of the Brandt family stand outside a church on Florence and Frank's wedding day in Chicago in 1943. The first is technically correct. It is also heroically unhelpful. The second preserves relationships, location, time, and family history. It transforms an image into a story. Image descriptions support people who are blind or have low vision and use screen readers, but they also help future family members identify people they never met and assist genealogists and historians using the collection. A file name and tags tell us what the photograph is. An image description tells us what it shows and why it matters. Accessibility makes information easier to use today and easier to understand tomorrow. Practice 4, create transcripts for oral histories. Many families record conversations with parents, grandparents, veterans, and other loved ones. These recordings preserve something a photograph cannot: a person's voice, expressions, memories, and way of telling a story. But audio presents a challenge. You cannot quickly skim a 45-minute recording to locate the 5-minute story about why the family moved in 1952. A transcript makes that information searchable and readable. Transcripts provide access for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. They also help relatives who cannot clearly understand an aging recording and researchers looking for a particular name, date, place, or event. A transcript creates another preservation copy of the story. If the recording becomes damaged, corrupted, difficult to hear, or trapped on an obsolete device, the words are still available. The goal is to make the story accessible, searchable, and understandable. A recording preserves how someone told the story. A transcript helps ensure that the story can still be found. Practice 5, follow the 3-2-1 backup rule. It's one of the simplest and most important. Teach patrons the 3-2-1 backup rule. 3 copies, 2 different types of storage. 1 copy stored somewhere else, such as offsite or in the cloud. For example, someone might keep 1 copy on a computer, another on an external hard drive, and a third in secure cloud storage or at a trusted relative's home. Why? Because technology fails. Phones are lost, damaged, stolen, replaced, or dropped into places phones were never meant to go. Flash drives disappear into drawers beside expired coupons and unidentified charging cables. Cloud platforms experience outages. Accounts become locked. Passwords are forgotten. Services are discontinued. The summer of 2024 provided a dramatic example. On July 19, 2024, a faulty CrowdStrike software update caused approximately 8.5 million Windows devices to crash. Airlines, hospitals, banks, broadcasters, businesses, and public services around the world experienced disruptions. The outage did not permanently erase everyone's files, but it suddenly made systems and information inaccessible. That distinction matters. A file may technically still exist, but if the device will not start or the account cannot be accessed, the information is effectively out of reach. The same principle applies to personal archives. If the only copy of a family photograph exists on one phone, laptop, external drive, or social media account, it is not safely preserved. It is simply depending on that one location never having a very bad day. Preservation depends on redundancy. If one copy fails, another remains available. A backup is not merely a duplicate, it is a second chance. Libraries do not need expensive equipment or trained archivists to make a meaningful difference. They might offer genealogy workshops, community scanning days, oral history and transcription programs, personal archiving classes, file organization clinics, take-home guides about metadata and backups. Personal archiving can also be added to programs libraries already offer. A genealogy workshop might include a short lesson on file names. A scanning appointment could include a worksheet for recording names and dates. A technology help session could include a discussion about backups. Libraries can also partner with museums, historical organizations, genealogy societies, senior centers, and veterans groups. One program idea I especially like combines scanning with storytelling. Invite patrons to bring photographs to digitize while sharing the stories behind them. As the photographs are scanned, staff, volunteers, or relatives can record the names, dates, places, relationships, and memories connected to each image. This preserves far more than the photograph. It preserves voices, traditions, migration stories, community experiences, and memories that may never appear in an official record. Sometimes preservation begins with sophisticated technology. Sometimes it begins by pointing to a photograph and asking, "Tell me about this." Libraries have always been places where stories are discovered and shared. Personal archiving extends that mission into the digital lives of the communities we serve. Resources and next steps. Libraries and patrons do not have to begin this work from scratch. The Library of Congress provides free personal digital archiving resources covering photographs, audio, video, email, personal documents, scanning, storage, and preservation. It also offers a personal digital archiving kit that libraries and community organizations can use to plan programs and events. Additional guidance is available through the American Library Association and the Northeast Document Conservation Center, or NADCC, which offers preservation resources, webinars, and training. Libraries can use these materials to organize full programs, but smaller efforts matter too. A library might create a Save Your Family Photos display featuring old photographs, outdated storage media, backup tips, descriptive file names, and QR codes linking to additional resources. Even a small display can prompt patrons to ask, where are my photographs stored? Do I have more than one copy? Would anyone else understand my folders? And why do I still own 7 unidentified flash drives? The goal is not to turn every patron into a professional archivist. It is to give people the knowledge, confidence, and starting point they need to protect what matters to them. Conclusion, returning to the why. Throughout this webinar, we have explored 5 practical strategies: organize files clearly, add meaningful metadata, write useful image descriptions, create transcripts for oral histories, follow the 3-2-1 backup rule. These strategies do not require expensive software or years of specialized training. They rely on small, intentional habits: a descriptive file name, a few names and dates, a searchable tag, a useful image description, an extra backup. As information professionals, we already teach people how to find information. Personal archiving gives us another opportunity. We can teach people how to preserve the information they already have. For me, that mission is personal. Accessibility is often described as helping people access information today, but it also helps people understand information tomorrow. When we teach organization, metadata, descriptions, transcripts, and backups, we are not simply managing files. We are protecting community memory. We are preserving family history. And we are helping future generations inherit stories instead of mysteries. Libraries have always preserved knowledge. Today, we also have an opportunity to help preserve the personal histories that make up our communities. Sometimes the most meaningful preservation work is not a rare manuscript or official archive. Sometimes it means making sure that 50 years from now, someone can still answer one simple question: who is in this photograph? Thank you for your time today. Together, we can help ensure that today's digital memories remain accessible, understandable, and available as tomorrow's history.